We would prefer you to use the Q&A if you have any questions for our team. We have a great set of panelists today to help you, and we're going to demonstrate some different things and walk through some things, but then the intention of the office hours is for us to be able to answer questions you might still have. You can also use the reactions, and there is the Slido poll that's open right now, so you can see down here in the bottom right to get to that Slido poll. Go ahead and if you're not seeing it, click on the 3 squares and the plus sign. And if you do not know how to get to the Q&A down here where there are the 3 little dots or the meatball menu, go ahead and click on that to open up the Q&A. But it really helps for us to put the question together with the response and to see that they've been answered or not. So again, here's the Slido poll. This has been the same one we've been doing in many of the IPD sessions this week. It allows us to have all the responses together if you already filled it out, but you still have additional enhancement requests. That's one of the questions on there, so feel free to fill it out for a second time. And with that, I think we're ready to start the recording. All right, thank you for joining us for our final office hours. We will have one about 11 hours from now, but this is the last Thursday in September, and we have been hosting these each Thursday in September. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Tracy Granlund, and I'm one of the program managers here who was tasked with change management for Convergence, and I've been working with a great cross-functional team along with Echo Rantanen, who is our instructor experience manager. So she and I are today's presenters, and but we have a great group of panelists, and Patty on our team will be putting different things in chat as we go along too. So welcome everyone. Our agenda is packed. We keep thinking we've been doing these each week that maybe there's not enough stuff to share, but what we have seriously gone through the different surveys that have been answered this week and seeing what questions people still have, and because of that, we have a number of things that we want to make sure that we cover to help our community. So these are slides that I've been sharing in every session, but we can't say it enough. The Convergence Hub is the resource for you to find videos and written resources in one location. You can find many of them in the educator resources also, but to be able to get to them quickly, the Convergence Hub, it is available in English, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and Arabic now. We will continue to update this and add additional links. I know one of the updates I need to make is that we are going to host one office hour in October that I'll share the registration links at the end of today, but I need to add those onto the Convergence Hub page so you can get to those to register. To quickly get to the Convergence Hub page, you just, when you're logged in as an educator, go to the Explore menu, Educator Resources, and over here on the right-hand side, you will see the Convergence Hub under the Quick Links. If you are also an ASC or ITC partner, you will have a Partner tab here, and that will also have the Quick Links. Then we also say this as many times as we can, but the platform orientation for educators is the great resource. Same thing, going to the Explore menu, Educator Resources, about the program, and then it's going to be right in the middle of the screen. So please share that with your colleagues if they want to understand. What's great about the platform orientation for educators is it has 9 different videos that you can go through in any order. So if you have a question, say you have a question about the gradebook, you can just jump down to that video tutorial. If you are having issues with WebEx for the class messaging, so we added WebEx here because we realized some people may not realize that WebEx is what we use for class messaging. So the tutorial is titled Class Messaging, but just so you know, it is about WebEx, using WebEx in your classes. So again, great resource. It's accessible to all non-student roles post-login. And with that, I'm happy to hand it back over to Echo to let her get us started with some demonstrations.
Thanks, Tracy. So just to reiterate again, we did go back and look at what were some of the questions that we've had on the last office hour as well as throughout the IPD week, and came up with a few pieces of information that'll hopefully be helpful. There'll be heavy demo here, but bear with me through a couple slides. I'm going to demo this, but this feature has been asked for by a number of instructors, and this is basically how do you uninvite a learner. So we showed this yesterday too on the new Netacad, and we did some demo. This is basically when you do the invitation only, you add basically a CSV or a manual entering of students, and then you realize that there's somebody that you want to uninvite. So I'll show that here inside of our QA environment, and this will release basically the evening Pacific time tomorrow. Also, I've been showing the invitation-only enrollment slide. I do want to show that we are going to add some clarifying text, probably mid-October, to help remove some of the confusion. So the biggest confusion with invitation-only is that you get to this page, you see the checkbox, and it says only learners with the class invitation should be added. Well, heck yeah, I'm going to check that box. But what people don't understand is you also need to either use the CSV or the manual add to be able to get that to work. So we will have some clarifying. We didn't make it for the September 27th release this week, but at our next release in a couple of weeks, we're looking at adding some, not so much functionality, but just some clarification. All right, so let me make sure I get the right screen for sharing here. So this is a QA environment. So let me say this is not available yet, but will be available, within easily 48 hours, 36 hours. So if I go in here, I am an instructor, right? So I can manage my students and my classes. I am in what's called Academy 1, which is just a test academy. The second course, Cybersecurity Essentials, if I click on the meatball menu, that's what the three dots are, I had to look it up, and go to Manage Learners, I'll be able to see that I have 2 learners in here. Now, this first learner says enrolled. So at some point, they were in an invite, could have been the manual adding of a student, or it could have been the CSV upload. They took that invite that they got, in email or the link that they were shared, and they've clicked and joined the class. So from this perspective, you could, suspend this learner or unenroll. Those are the options for a student that's actually taken the action to get into the course. This person here could be a number of different things happen. So maybe you put the email address in wrong when you uploaded maybe the CSV file, or this person decided to change classes 3 days in, right? I remember the first 3 days of class were just crazy as people would move back and forth to classes, and some were full and they were trying to find an option. So in this case, this invited student probably got an invitation somehow, or you could have shared information with them, but they've never enrolled in the class. So if I take a look at this one, I can either resend the invite, so maybe for some reason they didn't get the invite, so I know the resend invite is very important to instructors, but also I can delete this invite. So I don't really want this person in the class now, so maybe they haven't paid their tuition. Maybe they've been sick, and I want to make sure that my grade book and my managed learners is cleaned up, and that person's going to take a class next semester. So a number of different scenarios that this would work for. All right. And then I think we already showed this before, but if we go into like invite learner, just wanted to make sure you guys have seen that we've updated the UI. We've got the CSV upload, the self-enroll link, and this is the new one that we added, manual invitation of up to 5 people. You can use it over and over and over again. So if you have 20 people, you could do it this way 4 times and get everybody into your course. Right? So that functionality, the uninvite learner basically will release tomorrow night Pacific time. The other thing that we've had some questions on and continues to be a pain point is course customization. So we don't have time to go through it. I mean, we could do a couple hours on course customization and have done a number of different resources even before we got to convergence. So mostly in this case, I want to share these with you. So there is a class customization video in the platform orientation. So that's about a 10-minute video. There's also custom assignments and content. This is part of a larger IPD session that we did, basically called 5 top instructor tasks, and we cut those into the 5 videos to make it easier for you. And then before Convergence, we did a whole course customization session that included how do you migrate your information from the legacy environment into the new environment, and then how do you do things in the new environment. So from course customization, definitely take a look at some of these resources, maybe start with the shorter ones and then work up if you need some more information. So I want to talk about the course outline and content search. So we had a great question that popped up, I think it was yesterday. The week is blurring a bit for IPD. But we had somebody that was like, I missed the index in the course. So many of you who've been teaching in NetAcad for a number of years probably know what I'm talking about. So on Legacy, you go to the index, and then you could check boxes in the index. And you could say, like, only show me the packet tracers, or only show me the labs. So we don't have, per se, the index. If that's something that you'd like after seeing the demo, that could be a feature request. But we do basically have a search feature that can get you close to that. So let me go into the content. And if we look at this course outline, what I want you to be able to see is I've got all this information here, but maybe I'm really looking for packet tracer. So here's a way that you can basically go into the environment, and you can look and find all of the different packet tracers. Now maybe it's a little bit different layout, a little bit different component, but you can then look and find all those packet tracers. Also, usually if we look at the instructor PowerPoints, it usually talks about what are the labs, what are the packet tracers, and what are those activities. So I could also go in here and look for lab. They might have a few words that might have LAB in the word, but in general, you only see the lab stuff, right? And then you could also, there's activities, right? So let me get all the way through activities so I don't get others. Activity. I can't spell. So here's the different activities that are inside of this. Activity. So I picked a course that doesn't have the same level of activity. Sorry about that. So, it's not exactly the same index, but if you're looking, especially for all the packet tracers, it's probably the easiest to look at, right? And then if I go back to kind of the course outline and close that out, and maybe I'm down here in, say, course information, once you open the content, it didn't show it on my knowledge check, but once I'm in some reading content that I can do, there's also this search feature up here, right? Hopefully I picked something that has a result in here. Probably don't have, could try something easy like cyber, which is a little too easy, but I can look for keywords to find the location in the curriculum associated with that. So it's not the same index or the same search. If there's things here that you think need an enhancement, please let us know. But some people didn't even know that you can search through the course outline to look for things like packet tracer. So I wanted to make sure that you guys saw that today. All right. The next piece I wanted to talk about is Cisco packet tracer downloads. We didn't hide them on purpose, per se, but I wanted to kind of clear the air. The first slide you guys have seen probably since the beginning of time after Convergence. Just remember, if people are having problems logging into Packet Tracer, that they should click on the Skills for All button. I know that's not necessarily intuitive. I continue every week to have somebody on Facebook say they can't log in. So just want to put that slide back in here. But I wanted to look at this. Let me kind of tell the story. So the reason it isn't blatantly obvious to learners is we truly need learners to create an account and get into the Getting Started class if they don't have an instructor, right? So people coming, they're like, oh, hey, my friend at the college said there's a simulator I want to play around with. We want them to basically go into the Getting Started class. In there, it tells you how to download it. You don't need your students in every class to go into Getting Started to download it, right? Maybe they're in CCNA 3 and it's old hat by now. So there's a couple different ways that you can look at getting access to Packet Tracer. One of those is basically From an educator standpoint, it is super easy. So if I go to the Explore menu, it's easy once you know where it is. Go to Educator Resources and then go to Practice Tools and Labs, you'll see that there is this Packet Tracer resource. So that's the easiest way from an instructor standpoint. When I click on that, here's the download button. Also on this page are the 3 classes that you can enroll for to use Packet Tracer. There's a little bit of information around Activity Grader and the Packet Tracer UI. If we keep scrolling down, there are some community information. So this is the resource that we have for educators. Now, the resource that we have for students depends on the class. So let me see. Let me go into Networking Essentials. So we'll clarify and clean this up a little bit. It's going to take us a bit. But in the class, depending on the class, it should tell your students how to get Packet Tracer. Networking Essentials is probably the best example, if it'll open it for me, where the first part of the course in Networking Essentials is called basically Introduction, and it includes the Packet Tracer information. Let me relaunch that just in case it's my internet. And if not, let me duplicate this and let it sit there and spin for a minute. So the other piece that I had in the slides is a link that I think is pretty important. At this point, Patty has probably already put it into the chat, but the other link, let me open that up while this other one is taking its time to open up. Basically what will happen is once you, I guess it's probably my internet. Can you guys hear me okay? Just want to make sure that.
Yep, I can hear you fine.
Okay. Might just need to go to a different Networking Essentials class. So in the class, not on the website, but in the class, most areas where you need to Packet Tracer are going to point to something called the Resource Hub. It might be easiest for you to just share this link with your students, have them bookmark it, and that's where they can go to download. You can also share the Packet Tracer versions, right? Like if you want to host them yourself somewhere on a site, make sure only your students can get to it. So down here, this is the student view of the lab, and you'll see here's all the different versions of Packet Tracer. It also is the page, if you're teaching like Cybersecurity Essentials, here's the VM as well, and then the Ethical Hacker VM as well. So this is kind of the lab source that inside of a course it will point to. I'm going to give it one more time just to see if it's there. So again, basically, if you are on the Explore menu as the instructor, go to Educator Resources, Practice Tools and Labs, there's Packet Tracer. And you can share that, download it, the resources. Your students don't see Educator Resources or, of course, Partner Resources. And I will work on getting a Networking Essentials up here in a minute because I think it's a great example. I might need to change my view. All right, we'll keep looking at Networking Essentials here in a sec. So again, that link that's in the slide deck is that resource page that has the Packet Tracer, the cybersecurity VMs, and the Ethical Hacker VM. So that's probably the easiest way to find it. The other question that came up is somebody said in their school, they need to be able to export the gradebook once a week because they need to do some type of report. So in this case, I'll show it to you as well. But if you go into a class and you have to open up the gradebook, right, that's that third icon here on the upper right, then there is this kind of download icon link. And if you open up the menu, there is basically an export all. Once I do the export all, then it'll say, when your gradebook is available, we'll update it here. This one then says your gradebook is exported and working fine, and there's the download. So let me demo that real quick. Not super hard, that's why I hadn't demoed it before, but we had enough people asking us during IPD, probably because they didn't even know where it is or how to do it. So if I'm in this Networking Essentials class that finally opened, hold on, let's see if I can finish my demo. Haha, I can finish the previous demo. So back to Packet Tracer for a minute. This is Networking Essentials. The first assignment in Networking Essentials is basically the course introduction. As part of the course introduction, if I scroll down here, there's the link to the Getting Started with Cisco Packet Tracer. So if they want to go in and go through that course, they can. And here is also then that lab download resource link. So this isn't in every class, but we will look at making sure that there is a link to this resources page for your students in classes that need Packet Tracer. So sorry about jumping around there for a minute. All right, so let me go back, close Networking Essentials. And I think probably the best class is this class that we had some data migrated in. And let me go back to gradebook. So we're back to the how do I export the gradebook. In the gradebook, notice I've already done this. So it says your requested data export has been done. But if I go here and I say export all, and it says your export is in the queue, you'll get a link to download the file. When the export is finished, please revisit this page. So if I click OK, it says the same thing. You will get a link to the file when you export this. Please revisit the page. So here's the one I did yesterday at 3:38 in the afternoon my time. And then as I wait, it probably only took 1 or 2 minutes. It'll probably depend on how many students you have to be able to have the gradebook. But basically, I can go in here and I can say download it. This is the one from yesterday. And then you can take a look at the file. Let me open that real quick. It does have a crazy file name. So let me move this over to the other screen so you can see it. So there's the gradebook, right? There's not much in this gradebook. So the name, email, what exams or materials they've done, and what's their current class grade. So we had a few people who were interested in looking for that. Let me just refresh real quick and see if it's done. I think it took 1 to 2 minutes yesterday when I did it. Somebody said on an IPD session yesterday that they did this export and for some reason the gradebook never showed up. If that happens, then I suggest that you contact the support desk, especially if it's something that you need. All right, so it's already ready. Your requested gradebook is here. You'll notice now I have both the one I did yesterday and the one I did today. So if you need to export gradebook for whatever reason, not too difficult, but it helps to know where to go to do that. So again, a couple screenshots, go to the gradebook, go to the download, and then you can do export all, and then it'll show up on the same page, and it'll have the date and time for you on the gradebook page. I'm going to pause there for a minute. Is there anything, Tracy, from a Q&A or anything that we should probably try to answer verbally at this point?
I'm looking through, but Ben and Sandra, I know you've been answering a lot, so if there's something, go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know.
Yep. If not, I'll keep going. Thank you guys for all being such great panelists so that I can keep working on the presentation part. Tracy, I'm going to hand it to you for a minute, so let me go ahead and get your slide up for you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I figured I'd give Echo a short break from speaking. But again, as we said, we went through a lot of the surveys this week and questions that people still had, and we saw a number of people asking about alumni classes. So we wanted just to share this information that we actually shared pre-convergence, but alumni classes are only available today on Legacy NetAcad. So for those classes, the CCNA, DevNet and stuff, the Legacy classes are available there. Currently, on the new NetAcad, we are not archiving courses. So the classes do remain available to students today. So if their class ends this month on the new NetAcad, they still have access to the content on that because we are not archiving. And then as we get closer to the sunset of Legacy, we will provide more information on the alumni class offerings that will be on the new platform. So for now, they all have access. Whether they're on Legacy, they can still get into alumni classes there. If they're on the new NetAcad, their classes are not archiving, and we will get to the point where we'll share more information as the year goes on. So thank you for all the questions on that. Hopefully that answers your questions. And with that commercial break, I'll hand it back over to Echo.
Love it. Thank you, Tracy. So I did some instructor resources yesterday on the new NetAcad, but I thought it would be good to go back through them again today. So let me share my screen again. So I think we have a great resource. There's a lot of things in there, but really we're going to talk about the educator resources. So on my classes as an instructor, there's a great educator resource button right at the top. And all the things that you used to have on that resource menu inside of NetAcad are there, but I think it's much easier to get in this environment using the filters. So you might remember that you might have needed a CCNA ITN PowerPoint. So you had to go to the course resources. You had to find CCNA ITN. Then you had to pick on the language. Then you had to pick, so that folder structure is what we had available in our other environment, but we really wanted to create this library of resources for instructors. So a few things that I just want to call out up here. We do have these major categories. If I take a look at some of the different resources here, the course resources, the subject areas, so definitely take a look at the filters. We do have a number of different languages as well, some that maybe you didn't even know. Some of these languages are on here because we do IPD sessions in them, so we've done some Hungarian and some different Dutch sessions for IPD week as well. You can also look some publication date. So maybe if you're just being overwhelmed by resources, you can say, oh, it was an IPD session. It probably got updated in the last month or so you could look at that as well. So if I take a look at some of the different resources that are available, I get resource type. So here's program information, course info, teaching and learning, practice tools and labs. And really, if you want to come in here and say, look for a scope and sequence, you can do this, scope and sequence. You can then find it here, or you can click and do search. And we got a couple others that popped up, probably because the word shows up inside of the description. But here are all the different scope and sequences. So I think this is something that's very important for our community. When you're looking at adding a class and you need to go to a curriculum committee or present to a dean or to an organization, what are the materials that are in there? So I just got a request this morning from somebody in the field and said, hey, do you have the scope and sequence documents for the new digital literacy? I have a conference coming up. I want them to be able to see those. Okay. If I click down here on course materials, then the material type are the things that you can also filter by. So instead of maybe clicking on search at the top up here, let me clear results, I can go down here under course materials and scope and sequence, click that checkbox, and now you'll see all the scope and sequence documents as well. If you want to drill down, you could add maybe the course that you're looking for specifically. I can also do what are called the overview. So this is the overview deck that basically, for most of our courses, it's just a single slide. For some of the others, we had a few extra slides, but this is the one slider. How many hours? Does it have a badge? How many packet tracer activities? What are the outcomes and the objectives? So these are those single file types. The other thing that's nice, let me grab one that probably has multiple languages. Core, should have had this popped up a little bit later. So if we take a look at maybe something that has the product overview, if there's extra languages here, you'll be able to select the language. So a number of just the base resources that we have are in English, but if it's a course and you're looking for like the PowerPoints or something like that, they're there as well. So let's look at the other course materials for a minute. I'm going to uncheck the overview. If you're looking for the instructor PowerPoint module slides, we will be cleaning this up. We called them module slides on Skills for All. So module slides is the easiest way to find the Skills for All classes. But also as we moved over the CCNA, CyberOps, DevNet, we also had the instructor PowerPoint. So we'll merge these two into the filter. But here is where you can find the zipped file for those classes that you might want to use the PowerPoints. Maybe, I think we did a survey at one time and kind of half of the instructors shared the PowerPoints with the students. Be careful that you probably strip out the instructor part of the instructor PowerPoints that are in there. The other way to look at those is you can do it within your class. Now, we didn't want you to have to open a class just to find the resources. That's why they're in the educator resource area. But we also wanted you to have the ability to find them while you're teaching the class. So if I go into the course here and I go to like communications, I have all of this information. I'm going to go to, oh, is there a question, Sandra? Okay. So if I go in here and I'm in Networking Essentials, there's also this resource tab. Now, in here, for students, we have the single item available. Part of the reason we did that is so you can just get to the one thing that you need to download maybe for that day's class. Or you, as an instructor, could create an assignment around that single entity. So maybe you want them to do this packet tracer activity, you add it to the assignment page, and then you can point to the activity inside of the content. Now, if I go back here to Learner View, there are a few problems with Learner View. I will be honest with you. We are cleaning up this view. But if I go back to the Learner View and I go to Resources, I won't see all of those instructor resources. I just see the packet tracer. But if I exit the Learner View, give it a minute. If I exit the view and go into resources, then I will see some other things as the instructor. So you can find there's the overview slide, there's a scope and sequence, there's the module slides, right? So just a couple different ways to find those resources. We had a number of people ask this week, where do I find the PowerPoints? So now you have a couple different ways that you can go to find those PowerPoints. Support is working diligently. We have had, of course, high number of tickets, fast convergence, right? Some of them we're finding people are confused or unsure how to do something. So hopefully the office hour sessions, the videos that we've done, all of that material is helpful. If you come across a problem, please create a ticket. I know that some of you are like, oh, I'm just going to put it on Facebook. Echo will answer it. Sometimes I can do that. I do sleep, I think, occasionally, and really we need the ticket. So how do we know when multiple people have the same issue? What's the scope of it? Is it a one-off thing that might just be your school is filtering something? Or is it that 10 people in a country might have a problem? So for example, the week after we released, or week after Convergence, we started getting reports, a couple support desk tickets, not enough, and then I got some Messenger stuff and some LinkedIn stuff and Facebook posts and realized that in the southeast of the U.S., we probably had a caching issue at an ISP. Those people couldn't get on the site, so we just changed some settings. The students were able to get into the course. So we need to know the scope of it. Yes, does it take time to create a ticket? It does, but it's not terrible, right? So I think support probably shudders when I do this, because please use the chatbot, right? It's very powerful. We're adding and updating regularly. They did hundreds of updated answers in this environment. But sometimes you know that your ASC can't help you, and you know that it's not a chatbot thing. Maybe it's an account thing, or you've looked up the answer and you didn't find it. You can do a number of just type some stuff in here, right? And you're like, I typed in junk, that wasn't helpful. Did that help me find my answer? No, then it pops up. Check with your ASC first, and then if not, you can create a ticket with Support Desk. Please note, I have something many of you don't. I have chat with Support Desk as a Cisco employee. But here's where you can do the open a case. So it's pretty easy to get to. If you just put some even nonsense words in there, it very quickly gives you the link to open up the ticket. So please, please, please create those. And with that, I think I'm going to hand it back to Tracy. Tracy, let me hand you the ball.
Thank you so much. Great. Well, we are almost at the end of the slide, so if you have more questions, we do have some time to answer questions. Get them in the Q&A. But I did want to remind you that we do have a monthly planned downtime of 3 hours to get us through the end of the calendar year, and there's a good chance we will continue this into 2025, but you should be able to see the planned downtimes now, and this Friday is a planned downtime. So because we're doing planned downtimes, you don't always get an email ahead of time. We sent an email out last week, I believe, to all instructors and non-student users, letting them know. But this is posted on the quick links in the news for educators, the news for learners, the news for partners, that you can always get to this, and we'll continue to update it. So look ahead there. And then the week of the downtime, you'll see a banner across the top of the site too. Also, people have been asking kind of, can we see the release notes of the different release information? So with this downtime this Friday, this release notes article should be posted. We went back to anything post-convergence, so we did do some updates September 11th, and then the ones that are coming out this Friday. We're only putting in here the information that impacts our external users. We're not putting in stuff that is for the internal team, just so you know, but there's additional work outside of what we're going to share here. But what we think impacts you, we will put that in, so you can see this Friday. We will allow the instructor, staff, contact to remove an invited user. ASCs will be able to unsuspend a suspended support relationship. We'll be adding IT Essentials version 8 template for ITCs. And then there's various other minor user interface updates, bug fixes, and security enhancements that are also happening. We will update this same article with future releases, so we'll always put the most current one at the top of the article. So it's just, again, it'll releases an article. It may take us a week or so to make it a quick link on that news page if it doesn't happen this Friday, but the article should be out this Friday. I just kind of shared these in these updates, but if you are an ASC or ITC partner on the call right now, just an update that the IT Essentials version 8 template will be available at ITCs to be able to open. And September 27th is the downtime, so look for it on the 28th because it's evening time, Pacific time on the 27th that the site will be down. And that ASCs can unsuspend a suspended support relationship. Finally, as I said at the very beginning of this call, we have really enjoyed, and we hope you have found these office hours useful this month of September. We are not going to stay with a weekly cadence, but we will have another one in October on Thursday, October 24th. Patty, I know, just put the links in for you to register now for that one. I will say that we'll get it on the Convergence Hub too. If you're not on the call today, we'll get that posted. But we will run it because the next partner webinar is not until November 19th, and then the next IPD week is not until the first week of December. And so we thought it would be good to hold another office hours as more people are starting to teach classes and may have additional questions. Make sure, again, as you report things into support and as you use the feedback form on the site to provide additional information, we do look at all of that, and especially as we're preparing for these office hours, we meet with our support team to find out what are the questions coming in. So that's it. Are there any questions in the Q&A that we should cover live? I don't know, Echo, if you've had a chance to kind of look through.
I think one thing I'll do is go back to sharing my screen. So one question came up, how do I find some of the sessions that have been happening this week, the recordings? Please realize it is taking probably 48 hours to 72 hours to get everything updated. So there's a whole new publication process. We author it. It goes into kind of what they call the lower environment. We double check it, make sure everything's working, and then it gets pushed to production. So there is a little delay in getting those up and running. But if you go here to Explore, Educator Resources, Instructor Professional Development, or you can go straight to Educator Resources and check the IPD. This is the September IPD page. And so what'll happen if I take a look at like Program Update 1, before IPD week, this showed a registration link. Now it shows watch recording. It doesn't have the slides yet, but we are working on adding the slides to this page as well. So just go back to the September IPD week page. We'll have an IPD week page for each of the IPD's weeks that we do, or we might have a special session and have a page for that. So right now we have some of the Tuesday stuff posted up there. So the program updates is up there. A couple people are asking too around, let me go down to the technical updates. A number of people are asking about the new CCNA certification modules and what are the changes to the certification. Karen Stanton, thank you for that information in there. This was a session that we did as well on Tuesday. And that one we'll take another look at.
Echo, if you cannot,
Yep.
I mean, we want you to get used to the new platform, everyone, but I also believe Echo's team has been posting them in the legacy class. And so if you cannot wait to see them on the new one, you might just go into the IPD class on the legacy experience, and you should be able to see the recordings in there right now.
Yeah, so if you kind of scroll down here, if you go down to this kind of September English sessions, you'll also find them in the traditional manner. So we're going to keep using the class until it's sunset, but great point if you're having problems finding those. So I will double check again. We are just getting these posted for the first time, and so this might have an ID error associated with it. Mauricio, oh, there it goes, it loads for me. So it, has the outline, objective, what we did, the Slido code, because we do want people to finish the Slido poll. This lets you have certificate of attendance hours associated with it, and we will get the slides, like I said, added to each of these first. We wanted the recordings up first, and then we'll add the resources as well. Mauricio, I also saw that you had a question about future enhancements. Sometimes we don't know exactly the release date based on a sprint and the level of effort, and if we have to switch to fixing something. If we do know that something's upcoming but not the date, we could probably list those on that release notes. Right now it's mostly going to be, what is recently released, and if possible, we can look at future, but a lot of variables in there as well. So we don't want to say, oh, this is going to be released on the 10th, and then all of a sudden it doesn't work. So, all right.
So there's a question, there's a question that came in on the alumni. I saw that Sandra just answered it, but they missed the alumni section and asking, does this mean that after February 2025, when the legacy platform closes, that we will lose all our alumni content?
Yeah, so alumni courses are on the radar. We don't need to do anything right now because we still have the legacy alumni courses, and we're not archiving any classes in New NetAcad. So your students should still be able to see that class kind of long beyond the class. They might have to go to the completed, there's a couple tabs, so they may not see it. There's a completed tab, and they can go into that curriculum. The other thing that alumni does is not just give you access to the class you took, but we always wanted students to maybe, if they keep their login up to date, we wanted them to be able to go in and find the latest CCNA. So maybe it's 2 years, you've been keeping your NetAcad stuff up to date, you want to get back into the alumni classes to see the latest CCNA. So that's another kind of evergreen process that we've had in place. So as we get closer to the sunsetting of legacy NetAcad, we'll kind of present additional information on, what's available and how do students continue to see some of this material.
Great. And do you want to go ahead and switch the Slido poll over to?
I will. Yep.
Since I know we're almost at the end time here, so we will still answer some questions, everyone. But we want to, for those that need to leave, we want to make sure we have a post-session poll that we would like you to answer to.
Absolutely. So you should be able to see that Slido poll now. It is in the panels on the right. Did we put it in here, Tracy, at the end?
We did. Yeah, I thought I did.
Okay.
If you go forward another slide, maybe. Did I put it in the wrong place?
And
maybe not. Let me look.
Okay.
Let's see where I put it in the deck earlier.
Yeah, no worries. So if you don't see the Slido poll, you should click on the apps button on the bottom right, depending on the device that you're on. It's 3 squares and a plus sign, and then you can click Slido. I'm sure we're also putting it in chat. If we haven't already, it'll be there soon. If we have the QR code available, we'll pop that up here in a minute as well. So please tell us, have these been helpful? Has this been working okay? We said that we're not going to continue the weekly office hours because I think now you saw a lot of stuff that I presented today wasn't around problems and issues with the site so much as here's some functionality that people weren't aware of. So we do have that next office hour coming up in October.
It's so crazy. So I believe I updated it way down on slide 58. I just put it in the wrong spot.
That's all right. Let me see if we
So
can jump to 58. There it is. All right. There's your Slido poll QR code.
it's been a long week, everyone. Thanks for
It,
hanging in with us.
it's been a long 4 weeks post-convergence and maybe even a little bit before that. But yeah. So hopefully all of the sessions this week have been helpful for you in IPD. Like I showed, you can go out to the IPD Week course as we get the recordings up and posted. You can go back and view the recordings. We'll also get the slides attached to those resources as well. And if you're like, I have no idea where Echo went, you can go back to the old IPD Week page. It does exist on the legacy environment. So I want to thank Tracy for your help for sure in presentation. I also want to thank all of our panelists. We've got engineering, we've got support, we have technical managers, we have a host of people on here that help us make sure that we have all of the right people to answer those questions. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. And we'll hang on here for a little bit to see if we can get through the rest of your Q&A questions. But if you're getting ready to drop off, thank you so much for joining us and make it a great day.
I think all the questions have been answered, so.
I think everything else is more of like an enhancement. Where can I find the IPD set? So Karen Stanton, probably the best one is the one I just showed you for that CCNA modules section that we did, because the new cert came out on August 20th. So I put the cert objectives, they're in those slides that Eugene and I put together and presented. So that's probably the best session to go back and look at for the CCNA. The CCNA module slides release at the end of our downtime tomorrow. So you should be able to see an SRWE supplemental and an ENSA supplemental module on newneticad.com, which is basically the gap material between the previous CCNA and the one that was basically made live on August 20th. News page, please add filtering. Thank you, Maurizio. I don't know if we'll get down to that point. Pretty much after a couple weeks, people don't look at the old stuff very much. So, we can take a look at that, but right now it's mostly just getting people to know where it is. You have to go to your profile to be able to click on, news for educators or news for partners at this point, or news for learners as well. All right. Anybody else think there's a verbal question that we need to say or an answer out loud?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody, for your time. Hopefully you'll join. We got a couple more IPD sessions coming up. I think next one is AI, if I have it right. I can't quite remember the entire schedule. And remember, you can always go back and listen to the previous recordings up through October 21st to be included in the certificate of attendance. So make it a great day. Thanks, everybody, for your help.